Hey guys, what's up? R26 here, back with another Nikke video. With Nikke being a relatively new game, there's bound to be people who will be making a lot of mistakes, myself included. So without further ado, here are top 10 fatal mistakes you should never do, either as a new player just starting out, or as an F2P player like myself. Let's get to it immediately, shall we? Coming in at number 10 is watching this ad. Just kidding. Anyways, the first real 10 fatal mistake is to limit break your characters willy-nilly. Now what I mean by that is very early on, you'll get a lot of SR dupes, right? It's like Oprah, you know, you get an SR and you get an SR and you get an SR. And Nikke is a really dupe dependent game. Dupes get you stats, affection gets you stats. Of course, you'll be tempted to break their cores in order to get more stats. However, every weekly there will apparently be this: break a Nikke's limit and reinforce their core one time. Now depending on how many SRs you get, which is a lot early game, right? Because you'll be summoning 10 times, 20 times, 30 times with those starter summons. Eventually, you'll LB2 every single one of these SRs, and that's 20 points, right? So if you don't, you'll have to do either one of the others, which are 10 points each, which I wouldn't recommend. Especially the recruit Nikke is 20 times one. As an F2P, you really can't afford to go summon after summon after summon. It's better off to just save. Coming in at number 9 would be summoning for the limited time banner. Now, Nikke isn't like any other gacha game. It's not like Genshin, where limited time banners are actually limited characters. Some of these limited characters are going to be added into the standard banner later on. And even though the chances are higher in these limited time banners, there will be collaboration characters and pilgrims such as Modernia, which is way more worth it even though she will be added to standard later on. If you didn't know yet, it's because pilgrims has a 0.0714 chance of appearing in your standard banner. Speaking of the standard banner, coming in at number 8 would be not setting your 15 characters in your wishlist. Thing is, with the wishlist, you need these 15 characters to have a rate up. If you do not set these 15 characters, the rates would go down like so to 0.0875% chance, which is almost pilgrim-like. However, if you do set it to these 15 characters, the chances will go up to 0.2333%. Now, the reason why this is so important is because it'll lock out all the other characters you can see here out of the standard banner. So out of the full roster, which character should you pick? Well, first of all, I recommend Privately, because you do get an LB1 of her for free basically with the current event day by day going on. All you need to do is complete 70 of the points you get through progression by basically just playing the game. That's all you need to do. Besides, she looks like Hatsune Miku, what's there not to love? From the Missilus faction, I recommend Litter to be one of them, because she's a top tier buffer. You can see her in S tier in any tier list you see out there on YouTube or otherwise. Pepper, a top tier healer, which basically heals every time you either shoot or reload. I can't seem to remember for now. But she goes hand in hand with Privately, which I recommended earlier, because Privately basically reduces the magazine capacity of your character, which means that Pepper will heal your team much faster. I would also recommend Polly because she somewhat buffs your attack while giving you a shield. And for Tetra, I recommend picking Ludmilla because she's a good early game tank. However, Taunters are a little bit in a weird sort of situation where they die way too easily, so I wouldn't really recommend her endgame, but she is very good at early stages. I would also recommend Senti because she's a really good barrier sort of character, so basically she's good for survivability. And of course, how can we forget our favorite Gyaru, voiced by Amelie? So I would also recommend Rupee, another great buffer other than Litter. Besides, she's B2 as well, which means burst 2. While Litter's B1, so they could stack off of each other, basically. So you might be wondering, with these 15 characters locked into your standard banner, how do I get the rest? Now this goes into point number 7. You should never underestimate friendship summons. This is why your friend list should always be at maximum. These social points actually count. Now the rates may be low, and just to prove a point, I have 400 summons here, and I'm gonna summon for 40 characters. Let's see what we get. Alright, the first 10 summons. No SSRs. Next 10 summons. Okay, no SSR still. Third. 30 summons. None at all. And the last 10. So as you can see here, I didn't get any SSRs at all. However, you can still spend the points on the molds, which you can get SSRs from. That's why social points are so valuable. And just like that, a centi. And just so that you can see that this isn't some sort of trap or whatever, I did actually get a follow-up LB1 centi directly after that. Now, unfortunately, I was unable to get it on camera, but trust me, this is friendship summons, as you can see from that little 100 times love heart friendship thingamajig. Bottom right corner. There-ish. These are valuable because they can lead to molds, which can lead to duplicates, which can lead to limit breaks. Now, if you guys don't know, most players are now stuck at 160, which is the cap at LB2, limit break 2, which means you need 3 copies, at least 3 copies minimal, in order to break that cap. And with a game so duplicate reliant, every little bit counts. Hi, R26 from the future here. Now you may have noticed that this video took a little longer to make than I anticipated, and that's because this is my first time making any sort of guide, cause I'm never good at anything. So if you're finding a video useful thus far, please do subscribe to this channel so that we can reach our goal of 1K by the end of September this year. Go on, I'll wait. Thank you very much, it's highly appreciated. Now back onto the content. Now, mistake number 6 would be opening these crates that you get. Now, I've made this mistake. I know some friends who make this mistake. Like I said, Nikke is a relatively new game. We can't avoid it. So, if you look here, these numbers, 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, whatever, 24 hours, they don't signify the expiration date of the crates. These aren't expiring timers. What these numbers actually mean is that they're gonna collect 1 hour or 2 hours or whatever hours, 24 hours of what you have on your outpost defense, which you level up through story mode. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't open these crates at all, but you should open it only when you aren't able to proceed any further. Speaking of crates, it brings me to point number 5, which is these picker crates. Now, this growth set, or picker crates, which is what I like to call them, is these special crates, which you can choose which crates you want out of them. Now, do be careful when choosing what you want to choose out of these picker crates. You'll get one of 3 options. Either you get credits, these battle data sets, or these cores. You could go for the battle dataset, however, you could easily get it from simulations. Now, if you're thinking to get credits because you get 3 boxes of them instead of just 1, you're mistaken. So eventually, once you complete your daily missions, you'll get 2 hours of this, and once you complete your weekly, you'll get 2 of the purple ones, which boils it down to the last option, which is cores. But some of you might say, I get cores from the daily missions and occasionally from the common shop anyway. So why should I go for the core? Well, first of all, see how many you get from daily missions and how many you get from the common shop. Now see how many you need to level up endgame Nikkes. Yeah. The source of cores right now for long-term grinding is very unclear. You get them occasionally from the common shop, sure. You get them from daily missions, sure, but you get only 50 of them. You do get them from completing stages in story mode sometimes, and maybe you can buy them from events. But do look at how expensive it is. 300 for like 30? Hello? How does that make any sense? So do not pick the wrong one, just go for the cores, alright? And even here you can see that I'm saving up all the way with cores while I'm expending both credits and the battle datasets. Mistake number 4 would be not leveling your characters evenly. Now, this isn't a one carry all sort of situation where one character can carry you throughout the entire story. This is a team game where you need buffers, healers, and all the sort of tanks, other than your DPS, obviously. I am fortunate enough to get 5 LB1s on my CA account and moving on to LB2s, which I have 3 of right now. However, should push come to shove, you can always level up the SRs because you can limit break them twice, which will lead up all the way to 160. Now eventually at that point you have no other choice, you have to level the SSRs in order to break that 160 cap, and it doesn't get any cheaper, but the SRs are a decent placeholder Now, as to which SR you would rather invest in, I would recommend Nikke, because she can help you in Interception as later on with Gravedigger, which is weak to shotguns, which is great because you need as much points as you possibly can in order to grind the gear. Speaking of which, brings us to the next point, which is gears. Now, the thing with leveling up gear is that it can be a little bit daunting, considering that you get better gear each and every time, just like any RPG. Now, unfortunately, these gears don't affect the characters physically, otherwise it would be rated 16 and above. But before you unlock Interception S, and if you're able to kill the Pain Train, which is Interception D, what I would recommend is actually equipping at least your tier 4 manufacturer gears. Now, if you don't know what manufacturer gears are, it is those gears with this symbol on them on the corner left, which give bonuses to any of the manufacturers they belong in. Now, do be careful when leveling up your gear. The reason why I put this in top 10 fatal mistakes is because not all people know this, but apparently you can spam it. And apparently these gears, no matter how high tier they are, unless you're all the way at endgame, which is tier 9 or 10 and above, and it'll eat into your highest tier gear. So do be careful when leveling up your gear, okay? Because you wouldn't even notice it until it's too late. And finally, the last mistake you can make is not building your outpost. Now, what do I mean by that? Is if you go to the outpost here, there's a lot of these plus signs, which are constructible areas, which you get the blueprints by exploring the entire map in story mode. So if you go to the synchro device, you enter here. As you can see, there's only 5 slots for characters you want to level up without actually leveling them up. However, if you want to buy another slot, it'll cost 500, which as an F2P player, I'm pretty sure you wouldn't want. But dude, what does that have to do with building your outpost, you might ask? Well, apparently, if you do decide to build your outpost, and if you go to Tactics Academy here, you could actually see it could actually unlock additional Nikke slots in the synchro device, which means you can put more Nikkes in there rather than take one off, wait for 4 hours, and then put another one in there. Now, what I would recommend is going all the way up to stage 9, where you would actually unlock Goddess of Nikke statue. That would unlock about 15 slots if I'm not mistaken. That's actually more than enough Nikkes as an early game player. If you do go all the way, you could actually unlock a total of 20. It's not just a matter of aesthetics, it's actually gonna affect your unit's levels. So that's it guys, those are top 10 fatal mistakes that you should avoid either as an early game player or as an F2P player if you want to survive the long run. Because this game is very grindy and resource heavy, and at the end game where the difficulty starts to peak as an F2P, and you're gonna hit that wall eventually. Oh, here's a bonus tip by the way. Did you know you can skip simulations? I didn't, for a while. I know this isn't fatal in any regard, it could at least save some time for you. However, as a new player, I don't think you want to skip these because the buffs actually do matter and you might not survive. But you could if you want to. And if you don't know how simulations work yet, you could go up to the most difficult stage and you can get the resources before that. You could go up to stage 3C and you'll get Stage 3's A2Cs, Stage 2's A2Cs, and Stage 1's A2Cs. And that's it guys, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!